Ęgbę, and welcome to another episode of Talking Ifa with me, Babalawo Salako. In today's episode, I'm going to take a deep dive into my story, what led me to this traditional Yoruba spiritual practice and religion that I'm calling Ifa. But when I say Ifa, I'm really including the entire Orisha religion, the entire Yoruba religion. I'm just calling it Ifa. You can call it Isheshe, you can call it Candomblé, you could call it Lakumi, Santeria, different things you can call it. I'm calling it Ifa. I don't just mean just the Oromila branch of the religion. I'm talking about all the Orisha. So I'm going to talk about what led me here. But first, I'd really appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe. That would really help us here. We're trying to grow and help as many people as possible. Also, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from, which state, country, city. And finally, if you have any topics that you would like me to discuss, please put them in the comments. Okay, I'd greatly appreciate it. And in addition, I want to apologize for my lateness recently. I've had a lot of company staying at my house. Family's been in for the last three weeks. A lot of events going on, and that kind of put me behind. And it's been a struggle trying to get these podcasts out, but I'm trying to do my best. I beg for your patience. With that being said, let's talk. Greetings. I'm Babalawo Salako. I was initiated as a priest of Ifa and Obatala in Nigeria in 2006, and I've been practicing the Ifa Orisha religion for over 30 years now. My mission is simple: to help those who are new to the religion or lost in the religion. So if that's you, then buckle up and join me. This is Talking Ifa. Okay, so my story. So let me give you a little background. The first part is when I was growing up. So when I was growing up, in terms of, I'm only going to focus in on what led me to Ifa, so those aspects of my history about that. So what religion did we come up in? Well, we come up as Christians, and here in the United States, we were Baptists. My mom was Baptist for a long time. Then, I don't remember if it was when I was in, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade or 9th grade, she switched to Jehovah's Witness, and I went through that. So, first we were Baptists, we go to church, it was cool. Then she switched to Jehovah's Witness, and as I got into high school and I started to question things, a lot of things didn't make sense to me. So I had to start questioning, right? I'm saying, okay, this is not really making sense to me. So then I went to college. And my freshman year, my roommate, who was a great friend and best friend of mine till this day, he was Catholic. So we used to get in a lot of discussions about religion, debates back and forth. And, I was going and I found myself, it was kind of a drive or calling, which I later attribute to my ancestors, driving me and bringing that curiosity. So that's what led me to the next phase. So, the college phase. So in college, I went undergrad to University of Kansas, or KU. I was majoring in electrical engineering, I think at that time. And then I switched to computer science later as my major. But my minor was African Studies or Africana Studies, okay? So in terms of my journey to what led me to Ifa, what was the most important things that happened to me there was the instructor that I met in the Africana Studies program, Dr. Chico Herbison. Okay, he was a big influence on me. But when I first took it, it was just by a fluke, because when you majored in, if you had a lot of difficult courses like in engineering or computer science, for your electives, people would always say, oh, take a couple of easy classes for your electives so that you don't have to spend too much time on them. You can get some easy A's, and then you're focusing on your core difficult courses, right? So how we knew about those courses, back then they used to call them PUD courses. I don't know what the term PUD meant, why they called it a PUD class, but that's what they called it. And they said, the way you'd find out those classes is find out which classes the football players and basketball players were enrolling in, because that's what they would do. They would try to enroll in the so-called easy A classes. So I remember some people on campus said, oh, the football players are taking this African Studies class. Go ahead and enroll in that, it's easy A. So I enrolled in it. And I didn't enroll in it up front because I had a passion that I want to go learn African Studies. I just was looking for an easy class. At that time I was young. But Dr. Herbison he was smooth and he was slick, right? So what he would do, his strategy was, up until the drop ad deadline, he would make the class real easy. So you would get in there, you do your first assignment, he'd give everybody an A. You're like, oh wow, this is gonna be an easy class. You know, everything up to that point is easy. But right after the drop ad period, that's when he would hit you, boom. You know, he said, okay, now I'm gonna drop the deep knowledge on you. Now you're gonna have to work. Now you're gonna have to read. Now you're gonna have to study. And I remember people got real upset, you know, because everybody thought that was an easy A, even to the point where one person had the nerve to say something to him in class. They said, Dr. Herbison, this was supposed to be an easy class. And he started laughing. He said, the trick's on you, right? So, you know, we had to start studying. But one of the main things that I learned that stuck with me was about Malcolm X. You know, and I fell in love with studying about Malcolm X. Malcolm X became my mentor. I said, oh, he was deep, he was smooth, right? And a couple things that really drove me from both of them was Dr. Herbison. One of the things he would say is, whenever you're studying something or you want to know the truth of something, you have to go to the root of it. You must go to the root of it. You must go to the beginning to find the truth of it, right? And that stuck with me, right? And then Malcolm X, you know, said something even a little further. Malcolm X had said, you cannot hate the root of a tree and not hate the tree. You cannot hate your roots and not hate yourself. You cannot hate Africa and not hate yourself. And I used to correlate that with what Dr. Herbison had said. That always stuck with me. That was very deep. So I said, okay, that's what launched me in going to do my research and going to the root of things. I said, I got to go to the root. I got to go to the beginning. And, you know, because me and Dr. Herbison, we got real close. We became good friends. He also was a black sash or black belt in Gung Fu, or like Kung Fu. And so I started studying with him, he called Gung Fu, but basically Kung Fu. And in that, you know, there was discipline, and you learn discipline because, you know, people taking karate and all those, you know, they would say, okay, I got a white belt, brown belt, and they started going through these belts and trying to see, you know, to get up to a black belt. Well, in Gung Fu, it wasn't about rushing, it was about mastering. So the entire first 6 months that we studied was just stretching. You know, the first 6 months we didn't learn anything else in it, the martial art, except stretching to get our bodies ready. Then we started learning, you know, the praying mantis style, the crane style, the dragon style. We started learning different styles of Kung Fu, but at first we just stretched. He also is the person that taught me how to cook stir fry with a wok. You know, I started cooking like that. So we really became close friends. So that kind of launched me there. So then when I left undergrad and I moved to Atlanta in 1986, I started working in the Atlanta University Center at Atlanta University at that time. And I don't remember how I met them, but I ended up joining ASCAC, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. And the teachers were Dr. Asa Hilliard, who was a renowned Egyptologist. And, you know, he's an ancestor, honored ancestor now. And Obadeli Williams, I believe, was over that. So those two is who I was studying with. And Dr. Hilliard taught at Georgia State at that time. And so I used to remember I'd go to his office at Georgia State. He would, you know, talk to me and teach me different things. He gave me a whole disc with a whole bibliography of books for me to get. And I used to go to the Shrine of the Black Madonna and buy a lot of my books over in West End, Southwest Atlanta, near West End. And, you know, that kind of really helped me down that path. But Dr. Hilliard was the same thing. He said, if you want to go to the truth, you have to keep going back further and further and try to find the root. That was the third person that taught me that you had to go to the root to find the truth, okay? So he helped me study Kemet, ancient Kemet, or he said there was two different names. It was called, I think, Sais, S-A-I-S was one name, Kemet was another name. This was way before it was called Egypt. It didn't become Egypt until they said that it was named after a king or pharaoh called Aegyptos. The Greeks called him Aegyptos, and said that it was the land of Aegyptos, of that king, meaning that's how the term Egypt came. But by the time the Greeks were there, all the pyramids were built and all of that. So they didn't have anything to do with that. So, nevertheless, that's when I first discovered, in studying ancient African history, you could not separate the religion or spiritual aspect of life from everything else in life, normal everyday life, whether it's the marketplace, whether it's, you know, relationships, business, naming, etc. It was closely intertwined. And what we call art today, where we get into art and we say, oh, you know, it's a person, you're expressing yourself, you know, you want to be an artist, etc. Even all of their quote unquote art wasn't done just to express yourself. It was done tied in to spirit, you know. It had some kind of spiritual aspect or reason behind the art, okay? Whether it was carvings, paintings, etc. So that's what led me then to saying, okay, so now I ended up studying ancient Kemet religion and the Book of the Dead, etc., Book of Coming Forth. Was it Coming Forth from Night to Day or Day to Night? Something like that, but the Book of the Dead. And I went down that path studying all that. But my ancestors were pulling at me that you need to connect. This is what you need to do. And the source is Africa, the spiritual source is Africa. But I didn't see any way that I could practice ancient Kemet religion. I know there's No disrespect to some organizations back then, like Asara said, etc. But me personally, I didn't believe, or I was not convinced that I could revive a dormant religion just from a book. You know, I wanted to find somebody who's actually actively practicing a current African spiritual practice or religion. So I kept doing my research, and I found the first group I came through was the Dogon of Mali and their spiritual practice or religion. And I came across a book called Conversations with Ogotumele, which I still have, and I read that book. And so that was fascinating. There was some French anthropologists who were in Mali studying them, and they wrote that book, and then they did a book after that, I believe it was called The Pale Fox, and I think I have that book also. And what was so fascinating about the Dogon was the French could not believe what they knew and their amount of knowledge, like they knew about the star Sirius B, which you can't see with the naked eye. And they didn't believe them until later on. The Europeans developed a powerful telescope, and then they were able to actually see the star and confirm the star Sirius B. And so they said, how do these people, quote unquote primitive people, the Dogon, know about the star Sirius B? Well, they could astral travel, so they knew about it. They couldn't figure out how. But the roadblock I ran into there was, okay, wow, Dogon religion. I would love to learn about that, or possibly, get into that or practice that. But I didn't know anybody or meet anybody who were Dogon. I never heard of anybody practicing Dogon religion in the United States. It seems that they really don't travel or move here. I have a good friend now that's from Mali, but he's not Dogon, but he's Muslim. But I never met a Dogon or somebody that was practicing Dogon religion. So finally I gave up on that. So I said, okay, what else? I started doing more reading and research, and then I came across the Yoruba religion or spiritual practice of the Yoruba. And I came across the one for the Akan. And, so I researched those, and I was saying, okay, well, let me try to see if I can find anybody at that time in Atlanta, because I moved to Atlanta again in 1986, that's practicing that. And at first I didn't, but then I remember seeing an event coming up. There was a Yoruba art exhibit coming to the High Museum of Art in Midtown Atlanta, and I believe this was 1988 or 1989. I believe it was 1989. And so I said, okay, and then I read the description, and it said there was this Babalawo who was going to do a speech there. And so I said, oh, I got to be there, I'm there, right? So I went, and I listened to his presentation, and I went up and talked to him after. I had to go talk to him, so I was like, look, I'm interested in learning about this religion, I'd possibly like to practice it. Is there anybody in Atlanta? And he said, well, first of all, he couldn't help me because he lived in New York, so he was a Babalawo from New York. But he said, there is one temple here in Atlanta. They have a Botanica. It was located over at Virginia Highlands area at that time. So he said, go over there and talk to them. So I said, oh, I finally got a lead, right? So the very next day, I went over there. Now, keep in mind back then, the religion was very secretive because, coming out of Cuba, all the persecution by the Catholic Church and all that, people had, and same in Brazil, you had to practically perform this religion or practice it underground. You couldn't really let everybody know you were doing it. And so a lot of those kind of protective mentality carried over a lot at that point. It wasn't as open as it is now. So when I went in and I met with a sister who later became my god sister, but she didn't know me. So I went in and told her, you know, my story, and I said, you know, can I come to the temple? She said, no. I said, why? She said, I don't know you. She said, no. So I left, and then I came back a week later. Why? Because I wasn't gonna give up that easy. So I came a week later, came to the Botanica, talked to her again, asked her, could I come? She said, no. Basically, get out of my face, no. Left, came a third week. A week later, I came again. So finally, she broke down and started laughing. Okay, I see you're not gonna give up. All right, so I'll talk to my Luo and invite you over to meet him and see what they say. So she invited me and I went over, and they liked me, and so they accepted me into the temple. I joined that temple in 1989 or 90, somewhere around there. And then I was with them, and so I got in, I started learning about the religion, I started seeing the power of the religion. I saw at Bembe's people being ridden or possessed by the Orisha, and the Orisha speaking through them, etc. And I was excited, like I felt like, okay, I'm home now. This is, my ancestors are saying this is what I need to be doing, okay? Then, you know, that was in 1986, 89, I'm sorry. So then in 1991, I went and then they were from, my Luo was from Panama originally, so then we had our temple was over in West End, Atlanta, south of West End, near West End Mall. And then they ended up moving back to Panama. So I had to fly to Panama in 1991, in August of 1991, to get initiated to a Gungun as an Gungun priest. It was 3 of us. And so I did that. And I remember it vividly because when I arrived back here in the United States, about exactly 2 weeks later is when 9/11 occurred in New York City. The airplanes hitting the Twin Towers and all that, September 1st, 1991. I mean, not 91, 2001. That was 2001. That's when I first got initiated. I got initiated as an Gungun priest in 2001. But I'm jumping ahead. So before that, in 1996, I took my first trip to Africa. It was a group trip. I went over there with Dick Gregory, Jennifer Holliday, the singer, not Jennifer Hudson, Jennifer Holliday. Jesse Jackson was there, different people. So we flew over to Zimbabwe. We went to Harare, Zimbabwe, and Johannesburg, South Africa. And while we were in Johannesburg, we went to Soweto, visited Soweto, and met a lot of good people there. So that was my first trip in 1996 to Africa. So again, like I said, in 2001, I went to Panama and got initiated. Then in 2006, I flew to Nigeria and got initiated to Obatala. And then right after my Obatala initiation, the very next day, then I got initiated to Oromila, became Ifa priest. So I got initiated to Orisha then in 2006. But before that was when the seminal moment happened for me, when even though I was already practicing religion, I believed totally in the religion, and I didn't have any plans on leaving the religion. But what solidified my belief totally, without a doubt, was in 1999. So in 1999, I went for divination because I had, I think, 3 job offers. I think it was 3 job offers. And I was trying to decide on which job to take. So I said, well, let me go get a divination on it. So I went to get a divination. And I remember the orientation came back Iku. So Iku came, death, Iku. But the Iku wasn't on me, myself. It was on a family member, and then they found out it was on my father. And it went further to say there was going to be blood rushing through his body rapidly, which indicated a heart attack or stroke. So I had to do an emergency Ęgbę for my father, even though the reason I went for divination was for a job, but what came up more important was about my father. So I did the divination, I did the Ęgbę, and then I was told that to go and talk to my family. And remember, I'm the only one in my family that was in this tradition or religion. And some of them were still Jehovah's Witnesses, they didn't believe in it. So they told me to, okay. So they told me to go back and tell everybody in my family to not go and do anything to stress out my father at that time, because this happened at the beginning of December. So the other thing the divination said, that was going to occur to him that year. So that year meant that it had to be that month of December. But it said if I did the Ęgbę, he would survive, okay? So I went and told everybody, don't, kind of just chill out. Don't do anything to get Dad upset or stressed out right now. So of course, they didn't believe me because they weren't in this. So I remember one of my sisters specifically saying, well, I just talked to Dad yesterday and he was fine and he was laughing. There's nothing wrong with Dad. And I said, okay, well, you don't have to believe it, but all I'm asking you is to do me a favor and just don't do nothing this month to stress him out, okay? They kind of blew me off. So I did that Ęgbę on a Monday. 1 week later, on a Thursday morning, I got a call, because I lived in Atlanta, Georgia. My father lived in Denver, Colorado at the time. And they said, your father had a stroke last night, so that Wednesday night before. And he's in the hospital. You got to come to Denver right away. So I immediately went and bought my airline ticket and flew to Denver. And what I found out later was my brother had went and gave my father some bad news that Wednesday evening that stressed him out. And he had a stroke, right? So, but when I went to the hospital and talked to the doctor said that it was a miracle that my father survived that stroke. Plus, my father had had previous heart attacks before that time. So his heart and everything wasn't the strongest. So he said it was a miracle, and there was some condition that had occurred that was, they said it only happened in 1 in 1,000 people. What happened was a tiny little slit had appeared and formed in one of his arteries. And what that did was reduced the amount of pressure when he had the stroke, because it let some of the blood and the pressure leak out through the slit. And they said they don't have any idea of what caused the slit to occur, okay? So me, to this day, 100% believe it was because of the Ęgbę. That is why the split occurred. That's what I believe. Now, can I prove that? No, but that's what I believe. The other reason I can believe, I remember exactly when it happened, is because my father's gift to me every year for Christmas was an American Express planner. And those planners were $200, right? Remember, they were $199. So he would buy that for me each year for Christmas. And so I would keep my record of different stuff that was going on with me in my life. And I still have that planner, and I could go back today and look, and that's why I know the exact page, the exact dates that all of this occurred. But that seminal event is what gave me absolute confidence and belief in what I'm doing, and that absolutely I will never do anything else. I will never leave Ifa, or this Yoruba tradition, spiritual tradition religion. And there's been many other blessings that have come since then and before then, but that was the one that solidified everything that I had to have, and all my belief in this was in 1999. My father lived until 2006, the year that I got initiated. He passed away that January, February, the beginning of the year, and I went in June to Nigeria to get initiated. And I had really wished he was alive too, because he supported me in what I was doing. But so those were some of the seminal dates on my story that brought me here, that led me to Ifa. And again, when I say Ifa, I mean the entire Orisha spiritual tradition religion of the Yoruba, not just the Orunmila path, but inclusive of all the Orisha, the Egungun, the ancestors, your Ęgbę, all of that. And Ori is an Orisha also. So I hope that that was of some interest and maybe can help somebody else on their journey, deciding on what they want to do in their life and in their spiritual path. And in addition, again, in conclusion, look in my comments. I have contact information there. Like I said, I've started a mentorship program because some people had asked me to start one, and they wanted to study with me on learning the foundations as beginners of this spiritual practice or religion. And I'll have that information in the description of the video, or if you need any work, or you need divinations or other things, just reach out to me. And if you have any ideas for future podcasts, put those in the comments, and I'll try to see if I can do that for you. So again, I thank you very much for joining me on Talking Ifa with me, Babalawo Salako. And I pray for you to have a blessed day, a prosperous day, and a productive day and week. Ireo, Ireo, Ireo Dabo.